everyone out there in AP Lang world. Today we're going to talk a little bit about dashes. So dashes are pretty easy. I think people just get thrown off by them because they're not something that we use a lot in our everyday writing. So a lot of times we as human beings, when we see something that is foreign, we think, ooh, that must be complicated and sophisticated. It's not. They're really easy. It was, however, the number 2 element that you guys indicated on your grammar pretest that you needed more coverage on. So let's talk about dashes and when we're supposed to use them. So dashes, I know that this seems like a very long slide. Do not worry. It's a bunch of examples and I'm not going to read them all. So the main rule, the basic rule that you use for dashes is that dashes are used to show emphasis. They emphasize information. They show interruption in thought. And then they also show a change in thought, as if you're talking and then you go, and you get distracted and you switch gears to something else. They're used in the same way that commas are used, that semicolons are used, that colons are used, ellipses and parentheses. And there are often times where both are equally correct. So I could choose to use a comma, correct, or I could choose to use a dash, correct. Either one would work. I'll give you a tip later so that you understand what it would look like on the SAT and how to know the difference for when to use one. Now, before I go over the examples, I want to point something out to you. You will notice that the dashes are doubled. You see 2 small little lines. That is because the key that is on your keyboard that looks like a dash is actually a hyphen. It's shorter. So to indicate that you are using a dash and not a hyphen when you are typing, you double it up. Now, most people are not going to notice that difference, so it's okay if you don't remember and you don't double them up. But that is why it's doubled like that, because a dash is technically longer. And when you want to indicate that you are using a dash and not a hyphen, you should double it instead of just using the single. Now, if you were handwriting it, you would just draw the line slightly longer. On the SAT, they just have the line slightly longer. So you will know the difference between the dash and the hyphen. So don't worry about the fact that it's doubled. I'm just indicating that it's a dash, not a hyphen. So let's move on to the examples. If I take a look at the added emphasis ones, that notebook, the one with my name on it, is for my math homework. The one with my name on it is unnecessary information. I'm just emphasizing what the notebook looks like. I can take it out of the sentence. The meaning of the sentence still remains the same. That notebook is for my math homework. Now, if you look at the next one with the dashes, it's worded exactly the same way, except instead of using commas, I've chosen to use dashes. Equally correct. So the next few examples will show using it in place of a colon, using it in place of an ellipses, and then there's another comma example, and then a couple other examples of the stammering example to show hesitation. Now, the second example underneath adding emphasis is there to show you what it looks like when it's at the end. Okay? Come along on this journey with me. When I look at the sentence about the notebook, you'll see that there's a dash at the beginning and a dash at the end. And that is because the sentence continues on. So just like I would have a comma at the beginning and a comma at the end of an unnecessary phrase. If you look at the second sentence, the sentence ends with the phrase that would be surrounded by dashes. Okay, so I don't have another set of dashes at the end. There isn't, it doesn't say pizza and then another dash and then a period. Because when the element that you are setting off with dashes is at the end of a sentence, you only have it at the beginning of the phrase to indicate where the phrase begins. You end the sentence with a period. Okay, so taking a look at that one, I only like one food, pizza. I can do the same thing. I only like one food, pizza. Okay? Now the other examples, you can read through them. I'll wait. You can pause this video if you need more time, but I think you get the idea. So go through, you can see the different ways that you would use it to change your train of thought. That's when you get distracted. As an interruption, where you're just putting in like additional information that interrupts the middle of a sentence. A summarizing clause where I list a bunch of things and then I explain what those things are. And then to show a stammer, like a hesitation. I don't know what you mean. So that would be in between the stammer. Now, here are some tips for using dashes, things that you should know. Step 1, the words that are inside the dashes are unnecessary. So they actually don't affect the subject of the sentence, and they're never considered part of the subject of the sentence. So if I take a look at the example, Joe and his trusty mutt was always welcome. Notice my verb is singular because it's applying to Joe only, because only Joe is my subject, not his trusty mutt. So that's kind of one thing that you have to be aware of. If something's set off by commas or dashes, it's never part of the subject of the sentence. I'm going to ignore it. Next, dashes replace otherwise mandatory punctuation. So I wouldn't put both a comma and a dash, or both a semicolon and a dash. So you can see the first sentence, the man from Ames, Iowa, arrived today. You can see that I have too many commas there, so I feel like I need to get rid of one. So I'm going to get rid of that second one. So there's my example. The man, he was from Ames, Iowa, arrived. And I set it off with dashes. I get rid of that second comma. And then it just looks a little different because I varied up my punctuation. The final rule, the last one, never mix your punctuation. So here's your SAT tip, guys. On the SAT, they're never going to give you a sentence that would be grammatically correct with commas or grammatically correct with dashes and ask you to choose between the two. They don't do that. However, what they do is this last one. So you'll notice they mix the punctuation. For example, if I have cheese puffs, comma, my favorite snack, dash, are a staple on our grocery list, I have a comma at the beginning and a dash at the end, which means I have mixed my punctuation. I can't do that. So it would be correct if I made them both commas, or it would be correct if I made them both dashes. The key thing is that I cannot mix them, and that's what the SAT is going to do to you. So when you see dashes pop up on the SAT, you never have to choose, would I write the sentence with commas or should I write the sentence with dashes? What you have to notice is if they mix them, and they should not be mixed. Think of it like in some explosive compound in chemistry. Do not mix them or it will explode. Not really. Do not mix them because you'll get it wrong on the SAT if you do. Finally, there's a big kind of controversy between hyphens or dashes. What do I use when? Most of the time when you're handwriting, people can't tell the difference on whether you've used a hyphen or a dash. But knowing the difference between the two is key. So the two pieces of punctuation look very similar to one another. The only difference is that a dash is slightly longer. So when you're handwriting and you're using a dash, make it a little bit longer. If you are typing out and you are going to use a dash, you're going to hit the hyphen twice. Now, some programs, the smart ones, they will autocorrect it for you and they will turn it into one longer dash. But if it doesn't, and you have the two hyphens in a row, grammarians like me, smart people like me will know that you're indicating that you're using a dash. So to use a dash and not a hyphen, you hit the hyphen key twice. If it autocorrects for you, perfect. If it doesn't, just leave it as the double hyphen and they will know that you're using a dash. So that's the way you type them differently. The way that you use them is different. So first, I'm not going to go back over all the different ways to use a dash. So just remember how you're supposed to use a dash to emphasize information or to show a change in thought. The way that you use a hyphen is when you want to join multiple words to create one phrase. So the first example, I have a blue-green backpack. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know what blue-green would be. Is it teal? So I don't want to say teal because I don't want to sound so artsy-fartsy. So I'm just I don't know. It's like a blue-green backpack. So I'm combining blue and green together to create one descriptor. So I put a hyphen in the middle. And then you think of it as one word. If you look at my next sentence, I need a way to describe that look that somebody gets on their face, which you might have right now that just says, shut up, you're talking too much. So because there's not a word that's out there, I create one by using hyphens. She looked at me with that, will you just shut up look that she sometimes gets. So that will you just shut up, I'm putting all those words together with a hyphen and I'm creating my own unique phrase. So think of them as one word. I'm creating an adjective. And again, as stated earlier, you know all the other ways to use a dash. So if This was not enough to cover how to use a dash, and you are still confused on the rules. On this last slide, there are a couple of links to 2 different videos that you can go and check out on your own. One is from Khan Academy, and the other one is a basic YouTube clip from English Grammar. Either one will tell you some of the stuff that will tell you most of the stuff that I just told you, but maybe something about the way that they say it hits you a little bit differently and helps you understand it. Okay? Good luck doing your assignment. I hope you do well. It's just a quick 10-question practice, and I will see you again the next time that we meet. Bye!